who was very nervous about being up here today. But I really appreciate her talking about the kind of household we had. And when you can't make it right from the position that you're in, make it right personally until you can make it right from the position that you're in. And they're a little hard to see, but I want to introduce my daughter, Erin, who's the love of my life and who keeps our family sane, and my fabulous mother, Sonia Lujan. Now, they're up here without anybody else. I've got all this support in the audience because this is my campaign team. And they're going to work you today like none other. And Mother, I want you off this stage after this speech. The entire first row is not committed. And you get after each and every one. I can see you. I know who you are. But seriously, I grew up in an environment where my parents taught me the value of public service. It wasn't about career advancement, and it wasn't about a lofty title. It was about being an advocate, a champion, somebody who stood up for those who can't stand up for themselves. And today, ladies and gentlemen, you are here, aren't you? It's a call to action for Democrats, because we want to right those wrongs, we want to fight against injustice, and we want to make the priorities of working families first in this nation. Now, for nearly 2 decades, I fought for seniors, I fought for the disabled, and I fought for the veterans of New Mexico. And I was the director of the State Agency on Aging, and in that job, I saw firsthand horrific conditions in nursing homes, terrible abuse and neglect, and despite all of our attempts to bring that attention to the regulators who could do something about it, we ran into a giant bureaucratic brick wall. They would not protect those residents. So I went undercover in a nursing home. You can clap for that. It's a very big thing. Now, my father picked me up and he placed me in a particularly bad facility. And I presented to that facility as a young woman who was a stroke victim, who was completely dependent on total care. And what I witnessed during my stay, it's difficult for me to talk about it even now. I was humiliated, I was neglected, I suffered theft, and worse than all of that, I saw the despicable treatment of the other residents who were living alone in that facility. And I'm going to tell you, it was the longest 3 days of my life, and I will never forget it. And when my father picked me up, we immediately held a press conference so that we could alert the public and those families about the treatment in that facility, and then we shut that nursing home down. And today, New Mexico is the only state in the nation that has the legal authority to conduct undercover evaluations, because I knew that no matter where I go, that I would be dedicated to protecting those residents and their families for eternity. And ladies and gentlemen, I think there's more to do. And in fact, we need that kind of advocacy and action now. We must be dedicated to advancing and preserving women's rights. On all the gains that we have made for women. Absolutely not. And I will be a tenacious leader in Washington, just as I was when I was health secretary. And I said no and defied the Bush administration's abstinence-only policy. I said yes to comprehensive sex education and access to birth control here in New Mexico. And I will stand up to the out-of-touch Republican men and the Rush Limbaughs of the world who have renewed an attack on women's reproductive rights. I have stood and protected a woman's right to choose, and I will do it again now. I don't want to be an ally or just another reliable vote. I want to carry the torch for our daughters. And if that's not enough, we are now in a situation where Congress has decided that corporations have more personal powers and freedoms than any one of us. And I tell you, it's time to absolutely say no. So how about this instead? How about if the rich pay their fair share of taxes? How about if we take out the loopholes that protect big oil companies and protect folks like Mitt Romney not to pay their fair share? What if we instead invest that money in preventing Medicare from becoming a voucher program and allowing the Republicans to privatize Social Security? What if we instead decide that public schools and starting the economy and getting jobs on the ground are the most important things that we should do? Now that's an agenda in Congress that I think is worth fighting for. You know, I know that this is sort of old drill, but it's important. I'm tired of the empty promises and all the commitments about ethics and real reform in Washington. And I'm going to tell you right now that I can go against anything that my Republican opponents bring to me in the general. My integrity can stand on its own. And I've got a real record of going against special interests and insiders. As a county commissioner, I went in, we cut out the special perks and the favoritism, we cleaned up county government, we held government accountable because it works for you. And we're going to do it again in Washington. I love you guys. So here's what I think. I think you want a champion in Congress. I think you want a champion who shares your values and interests. I believe that we want to work together in an environment where we appreciate and empathize our own issues and challenges. We have all been there, each and every one of us. So today, I ask you, will you stand with me against the bullies who are waging a Republican war on women? Will you? Yes. Will you stand with me to protect veterans and to assure that they have the benefits and services that they and their families deserve? Will you stand with me? Will you? I love you. Will you stand with me to stop the attacks on public education and say no to the vilification of our public school teachers? And will you stand with me to make sure that we protect the rights of every single New Mexican? And when I talk about equality and civil rights, I mean all New Mexico families. I ask this of you today. It's an incredible challenge. I ask you to stand tall with me and make a difference in Washington. I humbly ask for your vote and your support today. No one said they were going to stand with me. And stand tall. That's all I get. I want to thank you very much for your power, your spirit, your advocacy. I'm ready to work for you. I would appreciate your vote today. Thank you. God bless you. God